a lot of guys stumble with the inconsistency in the discipline is because they negotiate so much with their word. We're either building self-belief or we're reinforcing self-doubt every single time we give ourselves a word. When we keep it, we build that self-belief, teaches you a lot about like what you're capable of, but also it helps you build the discipline that's going to get you to where you want to be. I think that's where a lot of guys stumble with the inconsistency in the discipline is because they negotiate so much with their word. And I talk about it a lot as like our word is life or death. And that's the thing that we're either building self-belief or we're reinforcing self-doubt every single time we give ourselves a word. When we keep it, we build that self-belief and confidence, but every single time we break it, we're just reinforcing self-doubt and making things non-negotiable. It's like, this is the word I gave myself. I'm not going to negotiate on it. It teaches you a lot about like what you're capable of, but also it helps you build the discipline that's going to get you to where you want to be, but even more importantly, like actually stay there and maintain it.
Totally agree. So what does your days consist of primarily now? You said you're doing mostly coaching?
Yeah, I'm doing online coaching. So what I do is I specifically work with men who feel like they're basically in that same place that I was, where they feel like they have no potential or they have more potential, but they're just, struggling to find the discipline, the consistency, the motivation. Maybe they don't have a lot of vision. Maybe they're feeling far from God. They're struggling to find like purpose or fulfillment. And so specifically what I'm helping them do is get their body, mind in relationship with God, right? So we're doing everything from physical training, nutrition, morning routines, building a way to actually get connected with God, figuring out a way to become more self and emotionally aware, and then essentially helping them create visions and figuring out like what are action steps they can take to move in the direction of where they want to be with their career. And a lot of those guys are also looking to prepare for a wife and become that man. So part of that is like removing the negative distractions, the vices, weed, alcohol, pornography is a huge one that a lot of guys especially have to deal with in private and they deal with it in the dark. So creating that space to conquer that in community and in accountability. That's what I'm doing day to day. So I'm either meeting with those guys one-on-one, building out programs, all of my, like, you could call it advertising and marketing. It's all Instagram and YouTube. So creating content resources for those platforms. That's really where I'm at right now.
What do you feel like are the biggest common denominators in the clientele you work with? Because I look at my clients, and it's interesting, man. Like I market myself as like a competition prep coach with keto. Most of my clients, they're all keto, but they're not all necessarily competing. But it's funny, man, when you're starting to work with somebody on nutrition or training or whatever, like when you're a coach, you wind up hearing about everything. Like you become a therapist, an advocate, like you're just an accountability partner through all walks of life because you can't really tease things out. Like you can't say, okay, I've got my career and personal life over here, and then I got my health goals and nutrition over here. Like it's all intermixed, interconnected. So when you're working with people, what seems to be like a common denominator for stumbling blocks that they're dealing with, so to speak? Is it primarily men, like specifically men that you're working with?
Only men. Yeah.
Only men. Okay.
Only men. I mean, the biggest one, especially, I'm 30 years old. The guys I work with are typically 20s or mid 30s. And I mean, the vices is the biggest one, especially the pornography. Like that one takes down most men, and most men struggle with some form of lust. And I think that's just a result of the culture that we live in. You got guys growing up with this type of stuff at their fingertips, and it's not even like they're actually watching specific videos. It's like it's on the regular platforms that are supposed to be like for just anyone, like Instagram. You got bikini models all over the place, provocative content. It starts there, and then you got young, immature men who are just moving into puberty and developing their sexuality, and they're just feeding themselves this quick dopamine, and before you know it, like they've conditioned themselves over so many years, and it's all around them. It's on the streets, girls wearing things that are provocative, and obviously it's on the man to control himself. But yeah, it's like it's almost like a trap. It's like all of a sudden they're in chains after years of conditioning. So that's the biggest one I've seen. And then the other one is like confidence. Guys just, they don't have confidence in themselves. They don't have confidence to show up the way they want in social situations, and speak and just be real. And be authentic to who they are and not fear judgment. And for me, where I see that starting the most is those guys typically, it goes back to the word, right? They haven't kept that word to themselves, and right, they're not confident in who they are in private. So how are you going to be that man when you're in public?
Yeah, it's a good point, man. I feel like vices, specifically the ones that you can, adhere or do in private, it's a slippery slope because it's like at first glance, there's no recourse to it necessarily. There's no, responsibility that you have to hold when you do it. I mean, like you're looking at porn on your phone, who's going to know any different other than yourself? But it's like, that's the thing. You know that you were not strong enough and you know that you were too weak or you didn't, hold yourself to that higher standard. And at the end of the day, like we all know if we're living our best life and being our best self. And when we stumble and fall in a moment of weakness, like it just gnaws at us. And then it becomes that much easier to do it a second time, a third time, or just a daily habitual thing. And, I know people that have struggled with drugs, people that drink too much, and porn. It's like, it's not allowing you to reach your full potential. And kind of like they say, an idle mind's the devil's playground. Like if you don't know who you are, you don't know what your calling is, then it's easy to justify those time wasters because what's the big difference? If you're clocking out, you're not passionate about the work you're doing, how you fill your time at home, whose business is it anyway, so to speak. But it's like, no, when you're obsessed with the work you're doing and you're filling your passion, filling your cup, it's like that outweighs the desire to do anything counter to that. Like I used to look at porn like any other guy probably, but the moment I started the business and knew that this is what I was supposed to be doing, it became like I literally just quit cold turkey because it's like I can't justify spending time watching porn when I know I could be productive doing something that I'm passionate about that's actually making a meaningful difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, why would I stop if I don't have a reason to stop? It comes down to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, how do people figure out what their passion is? Like that's kind of this cliche thing tossed around. Like, how do you know what your passion is? And I feel like a lot of it's just simply exposure. Like you have to almost expose yourself to everything to figure out what clicks in the beginning. And then once it clicks, then you can go full, speed ahead into it. But that doesn't happen overnight. Like it
Yeah.
takes some trial and error. It takes some figuring out. And then when it does click, it's not going to necessarily be easy. Like it's probably not going to be easy, but you have to just play the long game with it and give it the time it's due.
Yeah, and I think it first starts with like showing up for yourself and doing the things that you can do. And that's why I like to start in that place of physical, mental, in relationship with God, because it's like, what do you want out of those? Do you want to be 180 lean, 10% body fat? Are you cool with being, 15, 20%, 20 plus? Where do you want to be? What type of things do you want to do to stay active, to stay feeling good? It's like the body is almost like the car and the mind is like the engine to it. And it's like if we're not taking care of, or actually the engine to the car is more like our body, and the car is actually the mind. And it's like if we're just filling the physical body with 75% gas or poor fuel, then how we show up day to day, it's going to be limited. And when your body's not in a good place, your mind's not in a good place. So your focus, your energy, your creativity, your mood, all those type of things, you got constant racing thoughts. You can't, get to a place of stillness, and you're controlled by your emotions. So I think that's where it starts with, is like, getting right with yourself first, physically and mentally, and getting into a place where you do have real good awareness of the reason you feel certain ways and the reason you do that. And then from there, like, you have that foundation. What are you doing right now? What skill sets do you have? How can you leverage them? And starting to do the exploration from there, like based on where you're coming from. But yeah,
Yeah. Plus, it's so tangible. I mean, like people, it takes decades to build like a dream physique, but I mean, you can feel and look notably better after like a month. You can feel better after like 2 days of eating the right foods, drinking the right amount of fluids, and actually getting a good night's sleep. So like it's a quick win for people. And then when you're trying to like dial in your health and nutrition, like you're able to do everything else much more efficiently, first of all. But you can't do that if you're just sloppy in every other area of your life. Like in order to get better in health and nutrition, like you need to get sleep, you need to eat the right food, you need to have the right routine. So it kind of just becomes guide rails, so to speak, that allow you to get a firm footing on everything else that's going on in your world.
Yeah, it translates. Like you can't be disciplined and consistent in the gym and feel like you're not going to be able to be disciplined and consistent in your career. Like that's going to start to translate into what you're doing with your career, because all those small habits that you had to build to get right in the gym, to get your body in a good place, you need those habits as well as you advance your career. And I have guys who come in like they want to, meet their wife and be the guy for her, but it's like you're going to have to do a lot of things that you don't want to do when you're married and when you have a wife, and you're going to have to show up even when you don't want to and still be consistent. And if you can't do that with yourself, you can't end up doing it with another person. So yeah, that's a special thing about physical fitness.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Savage Clip. If you want to see the full-blown deep dive, check out the full episode here, and I'll see you there.